Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's video of the DIY collective build series, we are going to be finishing the actual build of the collective. We are going to put it all together. It's going to be a very quick video, and the only thing that will be left to do is the software, which will also be a very quick video and will be the last video of the series. So without further ado, let's continue. As you can see, I painted the box. This is a personal preference. I like it. I like how it looks in black. I added these 4 screws for mounting, and yeah, let's get started. So first thing we need to do is check the length of the aluminum tube that we want to use. The first step that we will be doing is attaching this tube to the grip. At this point, we are only going to drill a couple of holes in here. By the way, I just printed the wrong piece at the beginning of the project. This one doesn't have the holes for the screws, so I will be just drilling them, but the proper piece is in the Thingiverse side, and that one does have holes already. So what I will do is just feed the wires through. Push the tube all the way till the end. And if you have the piece with the holes in, you'll just have to mark with a Sharpie where the holes are. There's one hole at each side. In my case, I'm gonna actually have to drill both pieces, the plastic one and the aluminum at the same time. So let's just do that. Okay, so now that I have a 2.5 millimeter hole drilled, I'm going to use the tapping tool to make a M3 thread to it. I like to do them separately, so one hole at a time, and you will see why in a moment. Okay, the hole is now threaded. I'm just gonna feed it once again. And align the hole. Actually, I need to drill the hole a little bit bigger, the one in the plastic. So I'm just gonna use a 3 millimeter bit and make the hole a little bit bigger. There it is. You can use an X-Acto knife if you need to remove some plastic. Well, you will actually not need it, because if you print the proper part, the hole will be already there. So now I can align the 2 holes, insert a screw, it doesn't matter which one at the moment. And now that the screw is in place, I can drill the other side, and the holes, both holes will be aligned. So now that both holes have been drilled and tapped with a thread, they have both been threaded, we can actually install it. and you don't need very long screws for this. Actually, I think I'm going to use the shorter ones I have, which are about 7 millimeters, I believe, M3x7s, and that's more than enough. In fact, it will come from the inside of the tube. It doesn't matter, it doesn't hurt anything, but it's more than enough. Perfect. Okay, the next step is measure where do we want the 90-degree piece to be. The distance which will connect the 90-degree will connect the collective with the gearbox. This is a personal preference. The design of the collective makes it so it is approximately a 45-degree angle from, let's say, 0 angle to approximately 45. The shorter you make this space, the less movement it is, and in theory you will also have less resolution. The longer you have it, more resolution, but it's not going to make much difference, and you just need to calculate approximately where you want it in regards to where are you going to mount it in your chair. The one that I use has approximately a distance of 45 millimeters, 1.5 centimeters from the end of this piece until this one. I think I'm gonna leave about 50 centimeters now. Sorry, 50 millimeters. So, yeah, and it doesn't need to be super exact. But actually, I'm gonna do 60. It's around 60 right now where it is. So that's good. I think it's a good distance. So 60 millimeters here. And what you need to do now is make sure that the 90-degree angle is perfectly perpendicular with the angle of the collective. So you need this piece protruding here as much as you can. I mean, we are gonna eyeball it, of course, but we want this to be as much perpendicular to the direction of the collective as possible. And now that we have it where we want it, we will mark. There's holes. There's 2 holes in here on top, and there's another 2 holes on the bottom. You don't actually need them all. You can if you want, if it makes you feel safer. But I usually just use the 2 on top. I'll probably use 4 in this one because this collective is not for me. I'm gonna send this away. So I'm gonna drill all 4 holes. And then this one here, I don't know if you can see, but there's another hole. This is the one that will be screwed into this piece. So let's just mark all the holes with a Sharpie. Make sure not to move the piece when you mark them, otherwise the holes won't align. And let's drill and tap those holes. So let's do that now. Okay, so now all 4 holes are drilled and threaded, but before we can permanently install this piece, there's something else that we need to do first. So we will put the piece roughly in place. It doesn't need to be super exact, but let's align the holes. Yeah, exactly, somewhere there. And then what we need to do is drill a bigger hole where the wires are going to go through in this side. So what I'm gonna do is roughly mark where the part is. We are not gonna drill a hole this big. You could if you want, but I don't have the step bits for that, because we are going to use the step bit for this. I'm going to use the bigger one, and this is going to only reach up until maybe 12 or 14 millimeters, more than enough. We only need to fit these two wires, so we are doing the hole as big as we can just to make it easier for us to fish the wires through, but actually we don't need it that big. So I'll start with a smaller bit and then make it bigger with a step big. Okay, that's gonna be big enough. You can file this a little bit if you want. This is a little bit sharp, but the wires here won't be moving much anyway, so it's not super needed. You may want to just empty the aluminum tube. At this moment is full of aluminum shavings. So let's just clean this up a little bit. And so now we can install the piece permanently. I believe so. I don't think we're gonna have to take it apart again. We'll soon see. So let's just do that. So the next step is to mark where these two holes need to be in this piece of the gearbox. But it's not just a matter of inserting it wherever we want and drill in any place. We first need to position it in the gearbox where it needs to be, and then we will know the exact position this needs to go. Let me show you. So as you know, as you can remember from previous videos, we have the potentiometer. This potentiometer is a one-turn potentiometer only, means it does a 160 degrees rotation. And the ratio is of these two gears is what makes it that the full turn is only 45 degrees in the collective. It is designed to leave a little bit of room, because you don't want to force this potentiometer very hard against the ends, because you could break it. And that's what these parts here in the bigger gear are for. These are stops that push against the box, and that's what's holding the weight of the collective. Because when this is fully assembled, as you can imagine, the full weight of the collective is twisting to one side, or if you pull too hard, you could break it to the other way. So what we need to do is figure out where this small gear needs to be and where this one needs to be as well. To do that, you need to turn the potentiometer all the way to one side. In this case, I've turned it all the way clockwise. And that means that it needs to be with the top part, if we consider this the top part touching the wall. So if I insert the piece as it is, this would be the top limit. However, as I mentioned, I gave a little bit of room. So what we are going to do now is without trying to keep the teeth that are aligned together. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm trying to remove slightly I have the potentiometer loose now, so I could just push it backwards, or if you have it tightened, which I don't recommend, I recommend you leave it loose until you know where it needs to go, but in my case I have it, if you have it tightened, you can hold the potentiometer, you can slowly lift the bigger gear, and then turn the potentiometer one teeth back. So let me see if I can show you how I do that. So in my case, I'm gonna just push it backwards. This is the last teeth. The potentiometer doesn't go any further clockwise. So what I'll do is just move one teeth back, and that is the position that we want. That way, there's still a little bit of movement clockwise in the potentiometer. So that means we are not at the very, very end of the potentiometer. There's no pressure being made in the potentiometer. The calculation is that if you go all the way down, it will happen the same. The bottom part of the bigger gear is holding the weight, and there's still, you don't need to move it, you already did it on the top. But if you removed the bigger gear now, you would see that there's still a little bit of travel counterclockwise as well, because we don't want to apply any pressure on any of the ends. So now that we know where it needs to be, I'm gonna just let me tighten the screws in the potentiometer. So I'm gonna move this a little bit to the center, and then I need to place the potentiometer so it makes good contact, so the two gears make good contact. So that's good there. So we will have to do this operation once again later, but at this moment the gear is matching, the teeth is matching where it needs to be. So as you can see, it does the full travel, and the plastic piece is the one holding the weight in both sides. So now you could put a mark with a white Sharpie or something like that, or simply just repeat the process later, because we will need to take this piece out. But at the moment it's in place. So what we are going to do is temporarily put the lid on of the box. And then what we will do is rotate this shaft in a way that the collective is at the bottom part. So that would be all the way counterclockwise. That way we know that this position is when the collective is completely horizontal, and when you turn it all the way clockwise is in the upper position. So we move it all the way down. That is it. And then we place the collective in place. If it moves, make sure that it's only the plastic moving, it's in place. You need to be very careful with this. And then there's several options that you could do. You could do perfectly horizontal. This is again personal preference. I think some helicopters in real life actually have it a little bit angled upwards, so you could have it somewhat like this, and then the travel would be this, or you could have it completely horizontal. That is my case, but actually I do like it a little bit upwards, so I'm gonna leave it somewhat like that, and then very carefully, without moving anything, I'm gonna mark the two holes. So this needs two holes, one on top and one above and one below. And then I can remove this, and I should have both marks, which I do. This is an orange Sharpie that I have, so you probably don't see it very well on screen. but I can clearly see the mark. So what I'll do now, and if I put it, now that it's out, I put it all the way counterclockwise, I can see that it's not perfectly horizontal, which in my case is what I'm looking for. But again, this is a personal preference. So what I'll do now is try to remove this without removing the marks. I still have the marks, that's good. And then I have to remove this piece again. So let's do that. And drill the holes. And that's all the drilling and tapping required for this build. There's another optional drilling that you may want to do, and that is if you want to use a counterweight, you can mount some sort of adapter. In my case, I just 3D printed a rod here to what I attach a couple of lifting weights, very light. I just needed 1 kilo at the end of mine. It might vary in your case depending on the distance that you have here and also here. It might vary on the weight of your actual collective. It will vary, but and you can also play with the length to where you put the weight. It's not the same 1 kilo here than 1 kilo here. It applies a different pressure. So you can play with that to make it so it's stable. But you can also work with this as is, because as I mentioned multiple times, it does feature a friction ring. So you could actually tighten the friction ring enough so it holds the weight of the collective. I just didn't like that because then it would mean that the collective is tight and you are not able to do micro corrections. So I strongly recommend you to do some sort of counterweight. Okay, so now we need to fish the 2 wires inside this hole. There's several ways you can do that. You could use some needle nose pliers and see if you can catch them, which I did. So that's a good example of something you can do. You can use a hook wire. This one, I mean, if I opened, I could have used it as a hook. But whatever you need to do to fish the wire through, like this one. So one more. Maybe you could use also some tweezers. Sometimes it can be a little bit challenging, but that's why we wanted a big hole here to make it a little bit easier on us this moment. So I already have it. There you go. So now what we need to do is fit the lid of the box first, then fit this piece here, and then we can screw the piece in place. So let's just do that, and that way we will have this part already mounted. Oh, hold on a second. The space, the bearing that it's in the lid is very tight. And since I drilled and tapped these holes, I need to shave a little bit of it created a little bit of a lip. So let's grab a flat file and flat a little bit the holes that I just drilled, so it goes through easier. That should be good. So again, the gear part needs to go to the back, so this hole is the top one. And see, now it fits. So let's just install this. Again, I'm using M3x7. You could use probably if you have M3x4s or something like that. So before moving forward, one thing you may want to do, and I want to do it in my case, it may not be needed for you, but here is the space. Here's the friction ring, the one on the bottom. This is what will have a screw going through. There is a nut that goes in this hexagonal hole, and when you tighten the nut, this piece clamps together, and that's what determines the friction force. So in my case, if I put the M4 nut here, it's loose and it's gonna move. So if I do it like that, the nut falls. So what you may want to do at this point is add just a tiny bit of super glue to the screw so it doesn't fall. I'm just holding it with the M4 bolt, and then I'm gonna be placing it like this. So tiny bit of super glue. Make sure not to cover the hole. In fact, you could actually, instead of adding super glue in the bottom, you can actually do it in the sides, and I think that's what I'm gonna do just to be safe, safer. Because as I said, you don't want super glue in the thread of the bolt. Just a tiny bit so it holds. Now I'll just place it here. And you can even add a little bit more of super glue once it's in place if you want. Just be careful not to overdo it. Some accelerator. And that should not go anywhere. Okay, so the next step actually is to feed the wires through the hole in the shaft, this one here that we made in the previous video. I'm gonna start with the USB 1 because it's the thickest and probably the most complicated one. But the hole is very close to the end of the shaft, so it should not be very complicated. And if you're having troubles, you can use some tweezers or something to help you. Okay, the wires are fed through. I don't know if you noticed, but I already added DuPont connectors to the USB cable. It just needs the casing. And in case you don't know, there's 4 wires in a normal USB 2.0 cable, which is what we are using. There's a red one, which is voltage. In this case, it's a gray one. It could be a black one. That's ground. And there's a green and a yellow, which is data plus and data minus. And if you see the adapter that we have, it has all those pins. It has VBus, which is voltage. Let me see if I can show you. VBus, data minus, data plus, and ground. So we just need to put the connector case or sheath or whatever you want to call this in the proper way. In this case, red is going to one side. Black is going to the other side, which is ground. Green is a data plus, so it goes next to ground. And white is data minus, so it goes next to voltage, VBus. Okay. And then for the other one, this is the one that is going to go to the potentiometer. As you probably noticed, I already added a DuPont connector as well, a female one. So I'm gonna have to add male connectors in here. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Okay, so that's it. If you remember from previous videos, orange is analog, and then VCC and ground. And that's what I did here. Orange is the middle one. I just need to match the colors in the two connectors. Okay, and then it's just a matter of connecting both wires. Potentiometer wire, and then the USB wire. Make sure to put it in the proper orientation. Now, last part, same as we did before. If there is too much wire, you can always fit a little bit back, but there's plenty of room here. As long as you don't pinch any of the wires with the plastic, it will be okay. So what we need to do is, again, make sure, as you can see the lead spins, make sure you put it the right way around. And what is the right way? The hole for the friction ring is here on top, and the nut needs to be on this side. If you twist it, you'll see it doesn't fit. So there's only one way it can go. And then again, I'm gonna turn the potentiometer all the way clockwise. Place this touching the plastic part with the top part. So now I know this is the position that I want it to be. But then I have to go back one tooth of the gearbox, of the small gear, the potentiometer, and then push it down. And there it is. I can already feel that it's the plastic piece touching at the bottom now. And if I do this, I can feel that it's the top piece touching in this case. So there you have it. It's just a matter of now closing the box. And that's it. That's all. So we did it. Next video, last video, it's gonna be the firmware, the software, whatever you wanna call it, the Arduino sketch that we're going to use. I'm gonna show you what things you may need to change, how to program it, what everything does, and how it works. It's gonna be a short video, and you will be able to enjoy your collective. So I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a safe flight.